What's up everyone? I've got a new pair of shell Cordovan shoes here. I'm really excited to share these with all of you. I'm also looking forward to all the opportunities that this pair of shoes is going to provide, and I'll get into that in a moment. This is a pair of shoes by Indian shoemaker Bridlen. This shell Cordovan is actually from a Japanese tannery by the name of Shinki-hakaku. For those of you that are new or returning to the channel, it may not be a surprise to you to find out that I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to shell Cordovan, and really my favorite and preferable option would be the Horween tannery. That said, the last time that I tried many of these tanneries such as Ricardo or the Shinki tannery from Japan, it's been 3 or 4 years now. And I figured it was about time that I kind of circled back to some of these other tanneries to kind of evaluate what my thoughts are about them. More on that to come. As you can see, I've already worn this pair a pretty decent amount, which I think is a pretty important and vital reference for an initial impression, because shoes are beautiful to look at, but ultimately it kind of comes down to whether or not they hold up and are comfortable and something that you would want to choose to wear. I'm going to cover all of the basics and really all of the staple topics and items that you would expect in an initial reaction or initial impression video, such as the unboxing, the sizing, the fit, the break-in, and the overall price to value proposition that you can expect to get if you're going to consider Bridlen Shoemaker. If you weren't able to figure out what pattern this is yet, I'll give you a hint. This is the long wing derby pattern. This is in a cognac shell Cordovan leather from Bridlen Shoemaker. Let's take a look at the unboxing. I'll give you a bit of a background as to how I came into this pair of shoes. This is from their Founders Collection, a limited release of shell Cordovan from the Founders line. When I was at the trunk show back in October, Bridlen was the main headline sponsor at that trunk show, and they were featuring some of their shell Cordovan shoes, which definitely piqued my interest. I didn't really have too much time to talk to Afan, who is their owner. It was actually his father, as well as a business partner of his from Japan, that started Bridlen Shoemaker, and we definitely had the intentions of talking more at the trunk show. We just didn't really get the opportunity to connect and have enough time to really, chat about anything meaningful. Fast forward a few weeks, I had reached out to him via email and just kind of inquired about, the plans for the shell Cordovan that I had seen at the trunk show, and this is how I got the pair of shoes. This is the long wing Blucher from the shell Cordovan limited Founders line. It's on the Ruby Last, which is one of their more classic heritage, British style looking lasts. This has a shell Cordovan upper, of course, as I've already talked about a number of times, as well as a double JF&J Baker leather outsole. It's got a 360-degree storm welt, a unique yet classic and heritage-inspired long wing pattern. Overall, it's a very well-executed long wing pattern. Let me just touch on the unboxing here very quickly, which is, this definitely meets and exceeds the expectations that you would have for this price point. The quality of the shoebox, as well as the, how protected the shoes are in the shoe bags, and just the overall packaging, the presentation, very nicely done. You can tell that they've paid attention to detail here, and this is exactly what you should expect and what you would want to expect at any price point, but especially as you get into the $600 and up range for a premium kind of limited release shoe. I think this is very well done. From a fit and sizing perspective, this is a UK 8, and to be honest, recently I've definitely been teetering back and forth between a UK 7.5 and a UK 8. It really all depends on how the last is cut, really around the instep, to determine which way I'm gonna choose to go. Especially with a new shoemaker like this, or new to me shoemaker, I'm really gonna rely on a lot of the input from the shoemaker to determine if it's a lower or a more shallow cut arch combined with a lower instep, and that would definitely drive my decision more towards the UK 8 versus the UK 7.5, and that's exactly what I think led to this one. That said, I definitely think this has a very nicely defined and executed arch support, so I really think it's more so the actual height of the instep that drove the decision to go with the UK 8, and overall I would say that is definitely the right size for me. Moving into the break-in period, it's probably been just about a month since I first got these, and I would say I've probably at least worn them five or more times at this point, and they're definitely broken in at this point as well. Nothing out of the ordinary or nothing of concern during the break-in period. The one observation I would share and call out is, comparatively, I have a pair of TLB Mallorca pair of shoes that I just got, and I got both of these right around the same time. I would say the TLB one, kind of as a like a benchmark, broke in a little bit quicker and was a little more kind of in that like break-in status, probably like a wear or two before the pair of Bridlen was. For those of you that are familiar with kind of the break-in process from TLB, relatively similar. Expect a little more stiffness out of the heel countering and the arch support, but within, an extra 1 or 2 wears, they're going to be right at the same point. The Founders line is where they can really go after their passion and try to implement as many of the high-end, like bespoke or handmade shoe details as they feel is appropriate for a particular shoe or a particular release. So for this shoe, specifically between the higher end details with the JF&J Baker outsole, the double leather sole, as well as just a little higher level of finishing around the edge and the waist, the 360-degree storm welt, the shell Cordovan leather, they're able to pay homage to the founders of Bridlen Shoemaker by really honing in a little bit more and perfecting the craft about what details they want to showcase in a shoe like this. Overall, this is a very high quality shoe. The construction, the materials, I think the silhouette, the pattern grading, very well done. This is a channeled Goodyear welded shoe, which essentially means they're going in and they're carving the insole out to stitch the Goodyear welt to, as opposed to using a linen or a fabric gemming that gets glued onto the insole. They're actually going in and carving it out, which is one of those signs of, a higher end bespoke shoe. From a standpoint of the last, for my taste, I think this last kind of comes out a little bit long, but that's also maybe due to the sizing and the fact that I went up, to the larger of the 2 sizes I usually choose. But just when I look at the shape from right here, it just looks a little forward heavy. It could just be my personal taste. I think overall, when you look at it, the silhouette of the last, as well as the pattern, that part is spot on. Looking at the pattern though, I really do like this long wing pattern. Hopefully you can kind of see this, but this long wing, these lines are just seem very straight. This is the only long wing that I have in my collection right now, and so I don't have a reference point for it. But I don't think that I need a reference point to just look at this and see that these lines look exquisitely straight. And I think that creates a very nice, striking silhouette. Especially I love how, the arch support kind of tops out right at that long wing. I think that just shows a lot of planning, a lot of thought, and intent went into exactly what they wanted to execute here. One thing I know folks are going to have a question about is this seam right under the lacing quarter. So I talked to Afan about this because I honestly just didn't know. Based off what he told me and me just being able to kind of make my own opinion, I would say that sometimes this could definitely be a cost-cutting measure, but not always. In this case, it doesn't seem like it is because both Afan told me that it wasn't, and then also his answer just made sense, which is based on the way that they last and create the upper is they do that all on the last. So they put the lining on the last and then the upper, they last it, create that initial shape, and then they stitch the two together. I know the obvious next question is going to be all right, what do I think about the shell? From a standpoint of comparing something from Horween, something from Shinky, and then let's say something from an Italian tannery like Brocado, I need some more time. So I can't give you a full opinion and review about what my thoughts are on Shinky Shell Cordovan yet, but I can give you my thoughts about the price to value ratio for Bridlen, specifically the Shell Cordovan from their Founders line. I absolutely love this color, which is the Cognac Shinky Shell Cordovan, which comes in at $600. This same shoe from their main collection in calfskin is $253 at the time of this video. So we're talking roughly about a $350 difference. Does that justify that markup. If you are someone that's looking for shell Cordovan and that's something that's important to you, then I would definitely say it is a strong like price to value proposition there. If shell Cordovan is obviously not something that you're interested in, then I would easily say that the mainline collection or a calfskin founders line option would be the way to go, because like I said, the majority of the price difference when looking at a pair of shell Cordovan versus the same shoe in non-shell Cordovan, the one in shell Cordovan is just not going to make sense. It's going to be significantly more money. Let me know what your thoughts are, whether it's about the color, Bridlen, Shoemaker, the Founders line, or the shell Cordovan. I would love to hear it. Love to see what other experiences are out there. If you guys want to check out the trunk show recap video that I did from the first New York City Super Trunk Show, I'll put that link right over here. If you guys want to check out the most recent episode of the Shell Cordovan podcast, which featured Brian the Bootmaker, I'll put that link right over here. Appreciate you guys sticking around, and I'll see you soon.